I'm live today here, so I'll be adding Dr. Anusha so that few days ago I have asked few questions from you guys if you had any questions for the pediatrician. So few of you have personally messaged me and replied to my status, and then few of you have commented on my post. So we have picked up all the questions and we have selected a few so that Dr. Anusha will be answering to few of your questions now. Okay, I'll add her on the call. Hi, Dr. Anusha.
Hi,
Good evening.
good evening.
So we have been receiving many questions from many of my followers. A few questions were through DMs, and a few were with the status, and few have replied to the comments as well. I think many of the people were not so open to put out their questions in an open platform, so that they have personally messaged me, and I've collated a few questions, and I'll be asking you a few questions, and you can answer it for all the viewers, ma'am.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure. So, first question I want to ask is, how much weight gain should happen to a baby? So that's like a generic question they have asked. Can you share your inputs, ma'am?
Yeah, every parent is mostly worried about the weight gain in the first year of life. So, if we consider the weight gain, it starts with the birth weight. Usually, the baby loses its birth weight by around 7 to 10% in the first week of life. That is, it loses the extra water and regains, it comes back to its birth weight by around 7 to 10 days. Like 10% of weight loss is usually present. So, from then onwards, there would be weight gain. So from then onwards, if you consider the weight gain, like in the first 3 months, there is around 700 grams to 1000 grams, like approximate 1 kg for every month. That is in the first 3 months. Then later from the 3 to 6 months, it comes down to around 600 grams per month.
Okay.
Then later in the next, like from 6 to 12 months, it further comes down by about 300 to 400 grams per month. So the baby, when it's younger, like in the early phase, in the first 3 to 6 months, it gains a lot of weight. So gradually it keeps on decreasing. So many of the parents would be worrying that initially the baby was gaining a lot of weight and suddenly it has not gained weight, it drastically decreased. But ideally they gain weight at higher velocity in the initial phase. From 6 months, gradually this growth velocity comes down. So usually by the end of 5 months, they double the birth weight. By the end of 1 year, usually they triple the birth weight. So there is nothing much to worry if there is a decrease in velocity of the gain.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for the clarification. There is another question which somebody has asked. My baby is 10 months old. Her weight is 8.3 kgs. Is it okay, or is the baby underweight?
Yeah, first thing here we have to consider is the birth weight. So how much is the baby's birth weight? So there are many preterm babies, low birth weight baby with multiple reasons. So as I have mentioned, you have to check the weight according to the baby's birth weight. So
Yes.
another thing we have to take in consideration here is we have growth charts. Like we have like Indian Academy of Pediatrics growth charts and WHO growth charts. These are all available on online even. You can just download and start plotting your baby's weight and height. So as long as the baby is growing along the center, see this like 300 grams, 600 grams is all arbitrary. So this is the minimum growth. But what you have to check more specifically is the growth chart. If you're plotting the growth chart and baby is growing along the centile, means there are like centiles in the growth charts, like third centile, 10th centile, 25th centile, 50th centile. So you keep plotting your baby's growth and the baby is growing along the centile, then there is nothing to worry. Once when there is fall in the centile, that is when the baby is coming down on weight or there is no growth for at least 2 months, it is static, then you have to consider meeting your pediatrician. Otherwise, even though if their weight is less and they're active, physically active, and the milestones are achieved according to the age, and the baby is able to take food, whatever you give, age appropriately, then nothing to worry much.
Okay, ma'am. That's quite simple. It's made simple for all the parents to understand. So there is another question by a mother who says that my son eats, but gets easily distracted after eating and doesn't touch food. So I don't force feed, but I want to know if I can give multivitamins along with the food. What are advised for a 1 year old?
Okay. So, if your child is eating like whatever you give, it is a good thing.
Yes.
So, try to offer a different variety, and even if it is a small quantity, never force feed, that is a good thing. So, try to give good variety of foods at frequent meals if is not able to take at a time. And another thing you can do is making them energy dense. The whatever little quantity you're giving, make it like energy dense. How can you make energy dense? Is like you can add some ghee, you can add some energy dense like calorie dense foods, like you can add some carbohydrate rich foods, like add some rice powder or add some wheat, add some nut butters and nut powders. So even though if he's taking little quantity, it can help him gain the calories required. So next, coming to the multivitamins. So everyone is like fascinated on taking multivitamins to their children. So thing to take a point to notice, these multivitamin does not increase their immunity, or does not increase their weight gain, or they does not increase their appetite. These we usually prescribe in conditions of illness or sickness. See, if this baby has certain viral infection, has recovered some viral infection or bacterial infection, then these vitamin stores are usually decreased. So to replenish them immediately, we give some multivitamin supplementation for 1 month or two. But these are not indicated routinely. And you have to consider other thing, and the preterm babies. So the babies who are born earlier or the babies who are in low birth weight, they don't have the adequate stores. So that babies we recommend these multivitamin. So routinely we don't use this multivitamin as a maintenance for a 1 year old. Usually they get these multivitamins, like these are micronutrients. Usually they get these from their fruits and vegetables. If they are taking good diet and adequate amount of meals and all the snacks, it is good to continue with the diet alone. Multivitamins are not required. And there are multiple brands these days endorsing like the gummies and
Yeah.
all, which are multivitamin gummies. They help them for growth and
Yes.
appetite or not. So all these are false. Like these are not required routinely for a healthy baby. And even these multivitamin gummies, you're containing high amounts of sugar, and they contain some pectins, and these are all causing dental caries, high amounts of sugars, and babies are getting addicted to these, and there are multiple problems with this.
Yes, ma'am. I
So I think
wanted to
it is
ask.
not recommended to take multivitamins on a regular basis.
Yes, ma'am. Even I was about to ask you about the multivitamin gummies because they add sugars in it. Like any type of sugar is still a sugar, and they get addicted to the sugars, right?
They take
Okay,
like one
ma'am.
to two gummies per day. They keep on increasing,
Yes,
and then like
yes,
they tell that it is sugar free, but there are other types of sugar added in them. They have to read
correct.
the label properly.
Exactly.
So more harmful than benefit.
True, true, ma'am. Thank you so much for the clarification. So, there is an interesting question which usually people ask me as well. So, let's let them hear it from you this time. So, can we give banana, curd, milk during cough or cold? So, this is a regular question even I get. So, we want to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, in the OPD, even many mothers are very afraid to give banana or milk during any viral infection or cold or cough. See, banana never hinders illness. So even if
Correct.
they have any viral infection, they can happily take banana. Banana is a good fruit and has multiple nutrients. It never causes any negative effects during the illness. Only thing is it is little sticky. They may feel little difficult while swallowing. If the baby is comfortable to take, there is no issue in stopping giving them banana. And the second one is curd. So curd is a very good probiotic. rich in other nutrients like calcium and protein. So it can also be taken without any doubt. Even during the bedtime also it can be given even during the cold or any sickness. Because it should be given only at room temperature. It should not be refrigerated, and fresh homemade curd. I am not again suggesting this frozen yogurts or which are
Yes,
containing
yes.
artificial preservatives, and I am telling clearly that is a fresh homemade
Homemade.
curd. It
Yes.
can be taken at any time, even during the illness. And milk also there is no restriction. If they whatever milk if they are using, like cow milk or buffalo milk, if they are taking the mother's milk, all are okay. There is no need to restrict the milk also during any illness. So many of the mothers ask other doubt like citrus fruits also.
Correct.
So like during illness, we don't want to give orange. They're asking for orange and all. See, citrus fruits definitely have high amounts of vitamin C, and they help to build the immunity and help them recover fast. Unless you are not giving any refrigerated fruits, there is no need to restrict anything. You can happily give to your children.
Yes, ma'am. That is what even I advise. I tell them to give homemade curd, not the store-bought ones. And whatever they buy, it's like mandatory that they have to check the label before giving it to the baby, right? So that is clear enough, ma'am. So we will move on to our next question. There is a mom who asked, my son developed a milk aversion at 3 months old since introducing solids a month ago. He shows no interest and rarely eats even a spoonful. Could the existing milk aversion be affecting his acceptance of solids? What can I do to encourage him to eat solids?
The milk aversion, it is not so common problem, but it is faced by some of the mothers. So milk aversion may be having certain reasons. See, like some mothers like milk mix the milk with along with the medicines they give regularly, like some multivitamins or the vitamin D3 drops or such. The baby may not like it and may start refusing. And some mothers, they want the baby to gain fast weight fast, and they keep on force feeding the baby. Even if the baby's weight is less, they keep on giving more volume. So as they're giving more volume also, the baby tends to reject the milk. And other common reason we see is the nipple size. There are like multiple nipples for the feeding bottles available. See how much force is the bottle coming out. There are multiple brands, multiple companies. We don't know. Like there are multiple stages, each one particular to the separate brand. So you have to check how much volume of milk is coming through the nipple. So even the breastfeeding moms, some moms get a like more volume of milk. So if certain condition, the baby may not able to swallow certain large amount of milk at a time. In such conditions, we advise them to express a little first and then feed the baby. So you have to check all these conditions. These are the common conditions which cause milk aversion. There are certain medical conditions also causing milk aversion. So coming to the medical condition, the most common one is reflux. So usually in these babies like less than 1 year, the food pipe is connected to the stomach where there is a valve in the connection. We call it a sphincter. So that is not so tight like us in adults. So it is a little bit loose. So what happens if there's more volume of milk in intake, then the valve is loose, so it pushes back. So it comes as a reflux. So the stomach has the capacity to handle this acid, but the esophagus, that's a food tube, the food tube doesn't handle the acid, so it gets eroded. So it causes pain in the baby, burning sensation as we have in gastritis. So the baby tends to suffer this gastritis and pain. So gradually the baby starts refusing the milk. So she understands what if I take milk, I get pain, I get reflex back. So baby gradually slows down to take the milk. These babies usually tend to take milk when they're a little drowsy or sleeping, but they keep on refusing the milk when they're awake. So definitely you have to check on the reflux. Other conditions like milk protein allergies. Certain babies have allergies also, they also predisposed to milk aversion. And very rare conditions like there are certain connections between the food tube and the lungs. There is a leakage of the milk. There also it may cause aversion as the baby is having certain discomfort. So these can be evaluated by the pediatrician. So if there is certain aversion, you have to check initially 2 to 3 weeks. Like how is the baby responding or not if you collect the milk volume and all. But If still the baby is not responding and there is no weight gain, then you have to meet your pediatrician and get all these evaluated.
Okay, ma'am. And how to encourage them to eat solids is another question which they've asked in that.
Yeah. So encourage them to eat solid. There is no relation between the aversion in the milk and solid. So now, even
Okay.
if the baby is having like milk aversion, it may be due to gastritis or reflux. The baby would be willing to take solids because solids do not reflux fast. They'll get better as we introduce solids. They'll get better. So if it is from third month, we have to evaluate the cause first. Definitely, because if third month and it is persistent, if so, she's
Yes.
introducing solids means it is 6 months. So three
Yes.
months is it persistent? If it is persistent, how is the
Yes.
baby's weight gain? So we have to
We
plot
have
the
to
chart,
evaluate everything.
evaluate further. Then the milk aversion and the food aversion. But
Okay.
in that case, we have to evaluate for the cause.
Sure, sure. It's understood, ma'am. Thank you so much. We'll move on to the next question. A mother asked, if I give her new food, she's vomiting. What to do for her weight gain? So I'll tell it again. So if I give her
Sushma, I
new food,
hear you.
am I audible now, ma'am? Like now, ma'am?
Sushma, there's some net glitch with your.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible now,
Unable
ma'am?
to hear you.
Uh, I'll just add again. Am I audible?
Yes, now you're audible.
Okay. So there is another question which was asked by a mom. So whenever I give food, the baby is vomiting. So what should I do? Was the question. So
So the
the
first thing
exact
is what?
question is. Mhm. So exact question is, if I give her new food, she's vomiting. What to do for her weight gain?
Okay. See, this is a common thing which many mothers face, and now the age of the baby is also very important at when they're introducing new food. So ideally, we start complementary food, that is at 6 completed months. That's 188, 180 days after complete. We start complementary food. Now, as per the new guidelines, we can introduce wide variety of food directly from the 6 month itself. So previously we used to start very restrictively and give only limited variety initially. But now we have guidelines that we can introduce many new foods as and early possible. Even egg can be introduced from 6 months of age. So the problem why the vomiting could be is the baby should be trained in chewing. There is no need for teeth to develop like for chewing. So many moms give them pureed food, mashed food only till their 1 year.
Correct.
As soon after their 1 year, they start giving like them pieces and bits or chunks, and they keep complaining that they're vomiting and refusing. So ideally, they have to start it at around 6 months. So if they start it around 6 months, gradually, initially the mashed consistency, and they introduce it to the lumpy grated consistency, and later by 8 months they can give finger food, and they can chew anything like which is mashable with the 2 fingers. They have to check the consistency and keep on grading the consistency so that there won't be any issues while later. And the second thing they have to do is sit along with the baby, sit along with the baby and take food along with them, so that they'll understand that we have to chew and swallow this. They don't know the difference between different varieties
Correct.
of food. So if you keep sit with them and take food along with them, they will also try to understand. And it is a gradual process, and it cannot be corrected over a day,
Correct.
overnight. So they should have patience and keep on gradually introducing varieties so that they can correct themselves. Unless there is no medical issues, usually there won't be any issue. But it should be like it's a daily process. They should be start again from the smaller chunks and then introducing finger food and then help them
Correct.
chewing. So they have to make the child understand that they have to eat, chew, and swallow.
Correct, ma'am. So that is what even I tell the parents, because they think only teeth allows the kids to chew. So consistency matters. Anyways, we will not be giving them very hard food which they can't chew, right? We have to check the consistency, and it should be easily mashable so that the babies can eat easily. If you directly give them something solid, they might tend to vomit, right? Thank you so much, ma'am, for the clarification. So I'll move on to the next question. Please explain the quantity and varieties of food that can be given from 6 to 12 months baby. So this is the question asked by your mom. Ma'am,
Yeah. Able to hear me?
uh, yes, ma'am, I'm able to hear you now. I'll just repeat the question to you. Please explain the quantity and varieties of food that can be given from 6 to 12 months.
Yeah. As we discussed, we start giving food after 6 completed months. So immediately after 6 completed months, we can start like 2 to 3 tablespoons full of food. And initially 6 to 8 months, we give like around 2 to 3 meals a day. After 9 to 11 months or 1 year, you can give like 2 to 3 meals plus 1 to 2 snacks per day. And the basic thing, variety depends on what we consume in our home. So it should be food from the family pot. So whatever we eat, we have to keep on including them to the baby also. So as long as we give whatever we take at home, they'll be exposed to a variety of food. So whatever we eat without the spices like salt, sugar and the spices, we can offer it to the baby. But we have always checked the consistency of the food. So it should be mashable between the 2 fingers. If it is mashable easily with the 2 fingers, you can offer it to the baby easily. And other thing is quantity. You need not force feed the baby, let them take on themselves and let them decide the quantity. However, from 6 to 12 months, the basic stay is from the breast milk. These would provide only additional nutrition. So nutrition would be provided from the breast milk even. So you need not force feed the baby and let the baby decide, and you keep on increasing it gradually. Then you can gradually increase the number of feeds. I mean, the finger foods can be introduced as snacks. Fruits and vegetables can be introduced like later, like from 8 months as snacks. So initially like mashed form, later little finger food form like cut into wedges, potato wedges, or carrot also can be steamed. Like variety, I mean broccoli can be steamed, sauteed and give to them. So if they're exposed to multiple varieties, it would be easier for them. And there is nothing like some nut allergies or something which you have to restrict unless it is running in your families. Even if it is egg, you can introduce it from 6 months, but in like mash from like an omelette from 8 months old and all the nuts you can make it a powder and keep on gradually introducing it along with the food you give. So there is no restriction for the food. You can introduce whatever you take at home regularly. But while introducing, you have to consider the food pyramid again. That is, you have to give the balanced diet. So balanced diet is initial, the basic stay comes from the carbohydrates and proteins. Next come the dairy and the fats. So carbohydrates and proteins, if you take rice, if you want to take give wheat, ragi, oats, whatever you want take on it, you take on a regular basis, you can introduce to your baby even. So protein are also from vegetable protein and non-vegetarian protein. So vegetable protein you usually get from the dal, you get from the paneer, from the soya, and all the chickpeas, legumes, all these, you get the protein from the vegetable source. And from non-vegetarian, you can give the chicken, fish, and all to the baby even from 6 to 7 months. It should be in the right consistency. So by giving a variety and letting all the groups of the pyramid present, you give a balanced diet to your baby.
Yes, ma'am. I completely agree with you because what parents think is they have to give only mashed food, and they kind of restrict and start giving them separate food. And that kind of creates stress for the moms as well. They have to balance between a different meal for the elders and different meal for the kids. So it's very difficult for them to manage as well. They can offer varieties of food just following the safety guidelines. So until then, it is good to go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
I
ma'am.
want to add the thing. The thing they have to be careful is they should not give a choking hazard food.
Correct.
Means the food which is like rounded ones. I mean like green peas or something like grapes and whole nuts. All these have to give nuts you can give only in the form of nut powders, and greens also slightly mashed, and the legumes like chickpeas if you want to give the boiled ones also slightly mashed between the fingers. And the baby should be used to chewing, and you have to make the baby sit in upright position. That is a mandatory thing because it prevents a choking hazard. And the mothers also should be aware like how to prevent choking, and if choking occurs also the first aid also they have to be sure. There are multiple things available on online, they can just check out, and it is very easy, and the mother feels pretty confident if they're aware of how to treat even.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That is very true. Just handling the food and giving it safely and learning about choking is a must for all the parents. So, not only by food, kids tend to keep many other things in their mouth. So, it's very important for us to learn about choking. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was right to the point. So we'll move on to the next question. My baby boy is 9 months old and is only 67 centimeters. Is it less than 3 percentile? Is it a concern?
Yeah, so coming to the height again, like we measured the weight, height also we have the growth charts. So definitely we have to plot the chart and check around which centile is the baby. So if he is less than third centile, we have certain standard deviations. We'll measure the standard deviations, and basing on that we'll tend to decide. And here also the height at birth, the length at birth is very important. So ideally, the baby would be like 45 to 50 centimeters at birth. I am speaking about a term-born baby. That is a 9 months completed baby, not a preterm
Completed.
baby. So the normal would be 45 to 50 centimeters. So such babies usually they gain around 25 centimeters in a year. They would be like somewhere around 75 centimeters by the end of their first birthday. So usually 15 centimeters they gain in the first 6 months, and 10 centimeters they would gain in the next 6 months. So this is the ideal. So they can measure according to their birth weight, birth length.
So it depends on the birth height, right? Okay, ma'am. That's up to the point. We have another question from a mom who says, my baby doesn't sleep as expected since day one. How to sleep train the baby? So,
Sleep, so sleep training is like very important both for the mom and the baby, because if the baby is not sleeping well, the mom is also getting tired very easily, and it cycle goes on further. So ideally during the first 3 to 4 months, the baby sleeps like very long. It usually ranges from somewhere 16 to 20 hours even the newborn babies sleep. So gradually it comes on decreasing by the end of the first year. So if we keep considering like that, to train the babies like for this sleep, they have to have a consistent routine. That they should have some fixed routine along with the baby. The parents should also have a fixed routine, and the parent should be able to identify the cues, like sleeping cues, even when the baby is like about to sleep. So before that, they have to keep everything ready, and we have to make a proper circadian rhythm such that the baby understands it. So the baby doesn't know the difference between day and night. So we have to create an atmosphere so that the baby even understands that when is the day, when is it night. And during the sleep time, usually they should not have any distractions. Distractions I meaning such as noise or any excessive light, and the room should be peaceful, calm, and the baby should be able to sleep in a proper place, and it should be the same consistency every day. Like they should follow the same routine. And the babies usually would not sleep by themselves. They need certain support till certain age. So there could be multiple support, some by rocking, or some by singing a lullaby, or some by reading a bedtime story to the baby, or anyhow, whatever the parent is comfortable. So they have to maintain a consistency, like making the routine. If they maintain mostly, it is also not an overnight thing to happen. It should happen
Yes.
gradually, and they have to
Yes.
consider all these, and they should find, and the baby should not get irritated. The baby is like drowsy, and you're not able to make him sleep, and it takes a longer time. The baby gets irritated, cranky again.
Yes.
So the cycle keeps on going, and the baby doesn't understand when to sleep. So,
Yes.
maintaining proper routine is very important in sleep training.
Yes,
So if
ma'am.
you follow these small measures, it would be easy for the baby and the mother even.
Yes, understanding the cues and the schedule routine is very important. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for the clarification. So we have the next question which says, is it necessary to give multivitamin, iron and vitamin D3 daily?
As we already discussed about the multivitamin, it is not necessarily to be given to every baby, only except in the preterm babies. So coming to the vitamin D3 is very important for any baby till 1 year of age. So we usually recommend vitamin D3 from the day of birth till 1 year old. So there are two compositions available: 400 international units and 800 international units. Every day 400 international units are recommended for every baby. Why? Because the mothers, like even the breastfeeding mothers, are highly deficient. Mostly the Indian population, 80% of them are deficient in vitamin D. So we have a consensus on that, and we should definitely supplement the baby. Otherwise, the baby would go deficient, and they may be presenting with deficiencies in the later life. And the second important nutrient is the iron. So iron is also need to be supplemented from around like 4 completed months. From 4 completed months till 1 year of age, we usually supplement iron. This is also very important for every breastfed baby, because when the mother is babies on the breastfeeding, we usually supplement the mother till first 3 months with iron and calcium. Later,
Yes.
there will be reduced production for the baby from the mother, so they have to be supplemented externally. So these should be also be continued till 1 year of age. The only thing to be taken care with iron is it should not stain the teeth. It should be given little backer end. It may cause staining of the teeth. And one thing, the stool may be changed in color, like it may be appearing like brown to black. It is normal, so the parents need not worry about that. So even if the baby is having like if certain conditions like this, having constipation or something, you can give it on at least twice a week. But iron definitely has to be supplemented till 1 year of age.
Okay, ma'am. That's a pretty nice explanation, which I got. Next question is there from a mom who says, tips for stopping breastfeeding at night time. Is there any healthy snack to be offered?
So stopping breastfeeding is a very big decision for both the mother and the baby. So there
Yes.
is like you have to stop breastfeeding by 1 year, 2 years. There's nothing like that. But the recommendations say ideally you can breastfeed up to 2 years of age. So until 6 months, it is exclusive breastfeeding. That is only breastfeeding. No other milk, water is required. After 6 months, we start complementary feeding. That is, after 6 months, we keep on giving them solid food in a short intervals and meals based on the baby's acceptance. So until 2 years, you can keep on continuing the breastfeeding. But suppose if the mother is working or wants to stop feeding, you have to follow certain measures. So initially you can stop not stop, also decrease the daytime feeds. Like you can replace the daytime feed with the solid after 6 months. Each feed you can decrease and keep on introducing a snack and a little more quantity of the food they are offering. By that you can keep on decreasing the breast feed, so that the baby doesn't even understand when we have skipped the breast milk in between.
Yes.
So the difficult part to stop is the nighttime
Yes.
feeds.
Yes.
So daytime feeds, okay, the baby would also be comfortable and decrease very fastly. But nighttime feeds, they're long term used to go back to sleep. So the nighttime feeds, you have to give a solid dinner little late night, and if possible, if the baby is sleeping night, ideally by 8 to 9 is the ideal time to sleep. But if the baby is like awake for a little long, you can offer some snacks even. So whatever your baby is comfortable in taking in the day, or whatever the food the baby is already used to, you can definitely offer even at the night time. There is no restriction that you should not offer certain foods at certain time or something. If the baby is comfortable and the baby is used to take the food previously, you can definitely add that food even at the night time even. So it could prevent the baby from getting up, and if the tummy is full, the baby would not easily get up from the feed. And even if the baby is getting up for a feed, try to distract feed. At least rock the baby, or the father can take
Yes.
care, or some mother or parent, someone can take care, so the baby would be diverted. But it would take some time, but it is okay. Gradually, if the baby is taking good volume of food, the baby generally stops on its own.
Correct, ma'am. So taking the help matters a lot, because that is how even I did it, because it's emotionally very drainful for the mother as well when the baby cries for the milk and we are not able to give it. So yes, they have to take help and follow all the tips you gave, ma'am. That is clearly helpful for the tips. So the next question we have is dates or jaggery fine? We don't if we don't want to give refined sugar for toddlers.
See, any kind of sugar is a sugar, whether it be date sugar, coconut sugar, palm sugar, or jaggery, anything. We ideally restrict sugars till 2 years of age. So, until 1 year of age, we definitely restrict salt even. So, from 1 year also, later also, we can introduce in a very moderate amount if the baby is interested. Definitely. Then you can go for a minimal amount of jaggery, which would be definitely better than refined sugar. But it would be best if you could avoid this also till 2 years. So all the companies like promote themselves that they contain high amounts of fiber, they contain iron and all. See, you get multiple nutrients from these sugars only if taken in a larger quantities. I mean very larger quantities, not a small quantity. So it is very foolish to take these sweeteners for getting those benefits.
Correct.
Those you definitely get from some food or vegetables even. So if the baby is not accepting, if you are introducing, somehow you can give some kind of jaggery or sugar, but every time it should be in moderation. Definitely it has its harmful effects, so definitely if you're giving from the family pot, it should be in moderation, like once in a week, or it is accepted, but not on a regular basis. But someone going to take them for its benefits, it is not advisable.
Yes, ma'am. Because that is also kind of addictive, right? It is also a form of sugar and it's very addictive to the babies. Yes, ma'am. Even I completely agree. So we'll move on to the last question we have for today. My baby is 20 months old, but his soft spot is not completely closed. Should I be concerned?
Usually we call it the anterior fontanelle name. We can identify, like the parents can identify two like soft spots, one at the back and one at the front. Usually the back one is very small, it closes by like third month. The front one which we have on the head is the bigger one. Usually it closes by around 18 months. But in certain conditions like preterm babies, it may take little longer, up to 2 years. Also, it may take. So you check the baby whether it's a preterm baby or a term baby. Suppose in a normal baby it is taking longer. There are certain conditions like hypothyroidism and vitamin D deficiency. In certain conditions, the anterior fontanelle may not close sooner. So if the baby is term baby and still it is not closing or decreasing in size, you have to meet your pediatrician and decide if there are other further deficiencies and correct upon it.
Okay, ma'am. That's really a good explanation. These are the questions which we received, ma'am. So there were few questions in the live as well. So I will ask them to contact you via Instagram if they need a consultation, so that they can get in touch with you and get the questions cleared, ma'am. I'm really happy that this session went very well, and you gave us all the answers which we asked for. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining. Would you like to add something else?
Thank you, Sushma. Most of the mothers like are more apprehensive than doing what is right. So if they take major help from someone and be little practical and think over once or twice, now every information is available on Google or Instagram. If they just check it out, it would be fine before giving to the baby. Now some influencer may be suggesting some cookie, sugar, something. There are multiple things, but be uh, sure that you check the labels before you give anything to your baby, because it has a long term effect and it is very precious, the food you give in the first 2 years.
Correct.
So be cautious and take your own decision.
Yes, ma'am. Being mindful is very important
Yes.
these days because anything and everything is sold on internet, and parents have to check label at any cost. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you everybody for joining. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. I'll be ending the session now. Bye bye.